The NBA playoffs have started out crazy. 2-3-1 comebacks and title favorites already out. The second round should be great too. There are some interesting matchups and new favorites, so let's talk about every series and what to expect. Starting out west with the 1 versus 4 matchup, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Lakers. The Thunder are massive favorites in this series, and it is for a reason. They won the title last year and made easy work of the Suns in round 1. However, Jalen Williams is week to week with his lingering hamstring injury. He has basically been unhealthy all year, and it can be a massive blow as their scoring becomes worse, and will have less offensive creation. On the Lakers side, they have a similar situation. Luka is also week to week and will probably not be back until a minimum game 3 or later. They just came off a series versus the Rockets where they won as massive underdogs, but things ended pretty shaky. Luke Kennard didn't play very well in the last few games, as well as Jake LaRavia. Marcus Smart, LeBron, and Rui were all great though, as they were the main offensive engines while still providing good defense. This series should end in a Thunder win pretty easily, as the Lakers haven't beat the Thunder all year, but it would be a crazy upset if the Lakers, with everything they have going on, pull out the win. In the next matchup, it's the Wolves versus the Spurs. Until a few days ago, the Wolves pulled out the most shocking upset this playoffs, beating the Nuggets in 6 in a crazy impressive performance. Jaden McDaniels was great as he made Murray look hopeless all series, and Jokic also couldn't get much going as the Wolves had a great defensive game plan all series. They play with such an edge in the playoffs, and we truly cannot doubt this team in the playoffs, no matter the circumstance or the matchup. Anthony Edwards will probably miss the first few games with his knee injury, but with how they've been playing, maybe it won't matter. For the Spurs, they had an interesting round 1. They won in 5, but in about 3 of the games, they were down 10 plus at one point. This can be slightly concerning as they'll also be off a week's worth of rest, as the Wolves will be off about 3 days. However, they have Victor Wembanyama. His defense in a playoff series is literally a cheat code, and in the games he played, it showed. They had some good production from their forwards, but their guard play was a little inconsistent. The Spurs are favorites in this series, and rightfully so. They should win this series with all the injuries the Wolves had, but one thing is for certain, you cannot doubt the Wolves. Going out east, you have the top-seeded Pistons versus the Cavs. Both these teams played a 7-game series and will only have 1 day of rest before starting. The Pistons came back from a 3-1 deficit versus the Magic after a great series from Cade and Tobias Harris, both having 30 in Game 7. There was concern though, as Jalen Duran did not have a good series and the bench and shooting looked shaky. For the Cavs, they definitely have underperformed this playoffs going 7 versus the Raptors, but this team is still dangerous. Harden and Mitchell can be extremely hard to deal with, and they are also a very deep team. Evan Mobley was arguably the best player for them last series, and he should have some similar production next to Jarrett Allen. This is probably the most even series in terms of odds, and rightfully so. It is honestly a coin toss in who I could see coming out of it, and it should be a very entertaining series. With the last series of the second round, it's the Knicks versus the 76ers. Basically, nobody expected the Sixers to win the series after going down 3-1, but they somehow pulled it off. Maxey and Embiid were playing some of the best basketball of their life, as well as Paul George. He didn't have a very impactful performance on the box score, but he made some big-time shots and impactful defensive plays. The Sixers' biggest issue, however, is their bench. Despite the win, they only had 3 bench points in Game 7, and it's been a storyline all year. They have no depth. Their guards mainly will be asked to do so much this series, and deep in the playoffs, it can become an issue. For the Knicks, they won in 6 versus the Hawks in the first round, and by 51 in the closeout game. They started down 2-1, and people were wondering if a so-called finals contender would even make it out of the first round. Brunson turned it on in the last couple games, as well as OG Towns played a very underrated series in my opinion, and should get way more touches and shots this series. Their bench was up and down, but when everyone contributes, they are extremely hard to stop. The Knicks are favorites in this series, but Philly is going to give them a very tough fight. Their offense can definitely give the Knicks issues, and truly anything can happen. That is all of the second round matchups, and let me know who y'all have winning and what you thought of the first round. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.